For 6 months, my sister lived in my house, rent-free. She stole my money, disrespected me, and acted like she owned the place. I let it slide, until she called me a freeloader in front of my son. That was the moment I had enough. I gave her 2 hours to pack her things and leave. She screamed, she cried, she tried to turn our family against me. But when karma finally caught up to her, she realized too late, she had burned every bridge she had left. I should have known this was going to happen. The signs were there from the start. But I ignored them. Because no matter how selfish my sister was, no matter how many times she used me, she was still family. And I thought that meant something. Turns out, I was wrong. I had just put my son to bed when I heard the yelling. I walked into the living room and saw my sister standing there, arms crossed, face twisted with rage. You and your kid are just freeloaders. I blinked. Excuse me? She scoffed. You heard me. I do everything around here. I clean. I cook. And what do you do? Nothing. I laughed. Out loud. Because this woman was living in my house. Wasn't paying rent. Didn't buy groceries. Sat on my couch all day, acting like she owned the place. And she had the audacity to call me a freeloader? I took a slow breath, forcing myself to stay calm. You're joking, right? Yelling louder, you wouldn't even have this house if it weren't for me. I should be the one living here. Not you. I felt my hands clench. Because this wasn't just disrespect. This was delusional. And I was done. Let's rewind. Because my sister didn't just show up one day and start acting entitled. No, she had a whole story, a tragic, pitiful, manipulative story, one that made me feel guilty enough to open my doors to her. And that was my biggest mistake. 6 months ago, I got a call from her. I remember it clearly because I almost didn't answer. She and I were never close, she always had a way of making everything about her. But when I picked up, she was crying. I don't know what to do. He kicked me out. I sighed. Who? My boyfriend. I have nowhere to go. I was silent for a second. Because this wasn't the first time something like this had happened. She had a habit of using people until they got sick of her. And then she ran to the next person willing to put up with her. And now that person was me. I know we haven't been super close, but I really need your help. Please, just for a little while. I closed my eyes. I didn't want to let her in. But I thought about my own son. About what it would feel like to be truly alone in the world. So against my better judgment, I said the words that would come back to haunt me. Fine. You can stay here. But just for a little while. She sniffled dramatically. Oh my God, thank you. I swear, I'll help around the house. You won't even notice I'm here. I should have known. Because the second she walked through my door, she made sure I never forgot. At first, she pretended to be grateful. She cleaned the kitchen. Once. She bought groceries. Once. She thanked me for helping her. That part lasted a whole 3 days. Then she got comfortable. Suddenly, she was sleeping in until noon, lounging on my couch, binge-watching shows while I worked to pay the bills. Suddenly, she was too tired to cook or clean because being kicked out was traumatic. And the worst part? She acted like I was the guest in my own home. She started making comments. This place could use a remodel. Maybe I'll redecorate. She complained about my parenting. You let your kid eat that? No wonder he's a handful. She even took over my room when I wasn't home. Your bed is way more comfortable than the guest room. You don't mind, right? I minded. But every time I tried to push back, she played the victim. I just lost everything, and you're making a big deal about some small things? I thought you were different. I thought you'd understand. I swear, once I get back on my feet, I'll be out of your hair. And I believed her. For 6 months. But now? Now she was screaming in my face, calling me and my son freeloaders while sitting in the house I paid for. That's when I realized, she was never going to leave on her own. She was going to drain me the same way she drained every other person in her life. Unless I finally did something about it. And trust me, I was about to. Looking back, should have kicked her out months ago. The warning signs were everywhere. The entitlement. The manipulation. The way she slowly made herself the center of my home, treating me like a guest in my own house. But I kept telling myself, she just needs time. I kept making excuses. I kept believing she'd eventually get it together. I was a fool. It started small. She borrowed my car whenever she felt like going out. She stopped looking for a job. Every time I asked, she had a new excuse. She invited her friends over. And I don't mean casual visits, I mean all-night drinking sessions in my house while my son was asleep. But the moment I tried to set boundaries? Why are you being so controlling? I thought family was supposed to help each other. God, no wonder your ex left you. That last one? That should have been the moment I kicked her out. Instead, I let it slide. Because I thought, maybe she's just lashing out. Maybe she doesn't mean it. But then, she went too far. It started with a missing $200. I noticed it when I went to pay for groceries, money I had been saving for my son's school supplies. I checked my wallet. Gone. At first, I thought I misplaced it. Then I checked her room. And there it was, a brand new pair of designer shoes sitting on the floor. My stomach dropped. I stormed into the living room, where she was laid out on the couch, scrolling through her phone like she had nothing to worry about. Me, where did you get the money for those? She barely looked up. Oh, don't freak out. I'll pay you back. I felt my jaw tighten. You took my money? She rolled her eyes. It was just a couple $100. And it's not like you're struggling. I mean, what else are you spending it on? I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Me, that was for my son's school supplies. She laughed. She laughed. Her, oh my God, relax. It's not like he's gonna die without some fancy pencils. I saw red. Not just because she stole from me. Not just because she didn't care. But because in that moment, I realized something. She wasn't going through a rough patch. She wasn't struggling. She was a user. And if I didn't stop her now, she was never going to leave. So I made a decision. The next time she tried me, I was going to end this for good. And I wouldn't feel a single ounce of guilt. That moment, seeing her laugh after stealing from me, should have been it. But I didn't kick her out that day. Not yet. Because I wanted her to dig her own grave. And trust me, she did. The morning started off normal. Too normal. She slept in. Again. She left her dishes all over the counter. Again. She took a 2-hour shower, using up all the hot water before I could even brush my teeth. Again. I was already on edge. But then, she did the one thing I never thought she would do. She went after my son. I was making breakfast when my son came into the kitchen. He looked upset. Me, what's wrong, baby? He hesitated, eyes darting toward the hallway. Toward my sister's room. Him, Auntie said, she said we're in her house. And that we should be grateful she lets us stay here. I froze. Me, she said what? Him, quietly, she said if it weren't for her, we'd be homeless. And that you're too lazy to take care of us. Lazy. Me. The woman who paid every bill. The woman who kept a roof over both our heads. The woman who took her in when no one else would. I didn't feel anger. I felt pure, cold rage. And for the first time in months, I felt no guilt about what I was about to do. I stormed down the hallway and kicked her door open. She was lying in bed, scrolling through her phone. She didn't even look up. Her, Jesus, what's your problem? Me, voice shaking, barely controlled, you need to get the hell out of my house. She blinked. Excuse me? Me, you heard me. You're done. Get up. Get your stuff. And get out. She laughed. Not just laughed, cackled. Her, oh my God, are you serious? You're really kicking me out over that? Me, no, I'm kicking you out because you're a leech who contributes nothing. Because you stole from me. Because you're poisoning my son with your lies. Because I'm done letting you act like you own a house you don't even pay for. Her expression hardened. Her, you wouldn't even have this house if it weren't for me. That made me laugh. Me, how? You don't pay rent. You don't pay bills. Hell, you don't even buy your own food. This house exists in spite of you. She sat up, eyes blazing. You're seriously throwing out your own sister? I stepped forward, towering over her. She wasn't in control anymore. Me, you stopped being my sister the second you thought you could walk into my house and disrespect me. So yeah. I'm throwing you out. Today. Right now. For the first time, I saw fear in her eyes. Because she realized. I wasn't bluffing. She opened her mouth to argue, but I cut her off. Me, you have 2 hours. And if you're not gone by then? I grabbed my phone and held it up. Me, I call the cops. Silence. Her face went ghost white. I had let her walk all over me for months. But now? I was done. And she knew it. Silence. For the first time in months, my sister had nothing to say. She just sat there, her phone still in her hand, blinking at me like she couldn't believe what was happening. Because she thought I would never stand up to her. She thought she could push me forever. She thought I would always let it slide. But not this time. Me, 2 hours. I turned around and walked out. And that's when she lost it. She came storming out of her room, screaming. Her, I can't believe you're doing this. Me, calmly, over my shoulder, believe it. Her, you're seriously kicking out your own flesh and blood? I stopped. Turned. Me, you kicked yourself out the second you stole from me, disrespected me, and tried to turn my own kid against me. So yeah. You're leaving. Her face twisted. Her, I have nowhere to go. Me, not my problem. She scoffed, running a hand through her hair. Now she was trying to flip it. Her, wow. Wow. You always play the victim, don't you? Me, laughing coldly, oh, you want to talk about victims? Because last time I checked, I'm the one who paid every bill while you sat on your ass doing nothing for 6 months. She gritted her teeth. I was recovering from a traumatic breakup. Me, 6 months. 6 months of you stealing my money, insulting my parenting, and acting like you own my house. You're not recovering, you're a user. And I'm done letting you use me. That's when she dropped the act. Her expression shifted, from fake hurt to pure rage. Her, you know what? You're pathetic. You think you're so much better than me just because you have a house. You wouldn't even have this house if it weren't for me. I felt my eye twitch. Me, explain. How exactly did you help me get this house? She opened her mouth. Closed it. Because she had nothing. Me, yeah. That's what I thought. I pointed at the door. Me, start packing. She didn't go quietly. She called everyone. Our mom. Our aunts. Even our old neighbors. And she lied. She's kicking me out onto the street. I have nothing. She's making me homeless just because I borrowed some money. She's always been jealous of me. Jealous. Of her. I was too busy paying the bills, raising my kid, and holding my life together to be jealous of anyone. And the best part? No one believed her. Because her reputation? It wasn't a secret. Aunt One, did you really think she'd let you mooch forever? Cousin, you did this to yourself. Mom, honestly? I don't blame her. That hit her. Because for the first time, she had nowhere to turn. No one to manipulate. No one to guilt trip. No one to save her. And she knew it. With 15 minutes left on the clock, she finally stopped fighting. She packed her bags. She refused to look at me. And when she walked past me, she muttered. You're gonna regret this. I smiled. Me, I really won't. She walked out. I closed the door. And for the first time in 6 months, my house felt like mine again. She was gone. For good. And I didn't feel an ounce of guilt. Because she did this to herself. The house was quiet. For the first time in 6 months, I could sit on my own couch without feeling like a guest. I could drink my coffee in peace. No more mess. No more backhanded comments. No more entitled, freeloading sister. It should have been over. But she wasn't done with me yet. Less than 24 hours after she left, my phone started blowing up. Friend 1, you might want to check Facebook. Family group chat, what's going on with your sister? Random text, wow. I didn't know you were like that. I sighed. I already knew what happened. She was playing the victim. And when I finally checked social media, there it was. A long, dramatic post. I can't believe I was betrayed by my own blood. Imagine taking someone in when they have nothing, letting them stay in your home, only for them to throw you out the second you're not useful anymore. Family means nothing these days. The comments were insane. OMG, I'm so sorry. You deserve better. How could she do this to you? I can't believe your own sister would treat you like that. I rolled my eyes. Because here's the thing, I wasn't the only one she had used. And people were about to call her out. At first, she had some sympathy. But then? Comment 1, wait, didn't you live there for free? Comment 2, didn't you steal money from her? Comment 3, didn't she pay for everything while you did nothing? And then, the final blow. One of her ex-roommates, LMAO, she pulled the same thing on me. She stayed rent-free, made my life hell, and then acted like I was the problem when I finally kicked her out. Boom. Her story? Falling apart. She tried arguing. I don't owe anyone an explanation. People love to twist the truth. You don't even know what really happened. But the damage was done. Because when you lie to everyone long enough, no one believes you anymore. A few days later, she texted me. I don't have anywhere to go. You proved your point. Can we talk? I won't be a burden. I swear. I stared at my screen. And then? I did what I should have done months ago. No. And then? I blocked her. No more second chances. No more explanations. No more listening to her lies. She wanted to use me. Instead, she lost me. For good. After I blocked my sister, I thought that was it. I thought she'd finally get the message. But people like her, they don't stop until they've run out of options. And soon, she was about to hit rock bottom. A week passed. And then, I got a message from a mutual friend. Friend, did you know your sister is sleeping in her car? I raised an eyebrow. What? Friend, yeah. She's been couch hopping, but nobody wants to take her in long term. Apparently, she tried to pull the same, I need help act with other people, and they all kicked her out too. I wasn't surprised. She had burned too many bridges. And now? She had nowhere left to go. A few days later, I got an unknown number calling me. I didn't answer. Then? A text. Her, I know you hate me, but I'm really struggling. Her, you're my sister. Please don't leave me like this. Her, I'll do anything. Just let me stay for a little while. I stared at my phone. And for half a second, I felt a flicker of guilt. She was my sister. But then I thought about everything she had done. The stolen money. The lies. The way she treated my son. And just like that, the guilt was gone. I took a deep breath. Then, I typed back. Me, I gave you a home. I gave you chances. You took advantage of me, my son, and everyone around you. Me, you made your bed. Now lie in it. And then? I blocked her. For good. A month later, I got an update. She was working a minimum wage job. The same kind of job she used to laugh at me for having. She was renting a tiny room in a stranger's house. Because no family member would take her in. She had no friends left. Because she had used them all. For the first time in her life, she had to take care of herself. No one was there to bail her out. And me? I didn't care. Because she did this to herself. For the first time in 6 months, my home was mine again. No more walking on eggshells. No more backhanded comments. No more entitled sister sucking the life out of me. And the best part? I didn't miss her. Not for a second. My son? Happier than ever. No more toxic energy in the house. No more hearing someone talk down to his mother. No more feeling like we didn't belong in our own home. Me? I was finally at peace. I had money again, because nobody was secretly stealing it. I had space again, because I wasn't taking care of a grown adult who refused to grow up. I had freedom again, because I wasn't trapped in a cycle of guilt and manipulation. I started focusing on myself. I redecorated the house, erased every sign that she was ever there. I went out more, reconnected with friends I had ignored while dealing with her drama. I finally felt free. And my sister? Well, she had to figure out how to survive without me. A few months later, I got one last message. Her, I know we've had our issues, but I really miss you. I want to fix things. I laughed. Not because it was funny. But because she didn't get it. There was nothing left to fix. So I didn't respond. I just deleted the message. Blocked the number. And moved on with my life. Because the truth is, family isn't about blood. It's about respect. And the moment someone thinks they can walk all over you just because you're family, they don't deserve a place in your life. And I never looked back. The best decision I ever made? Cutting her off. She thought she could use me forever. She thought I would never fight back. She thought she could break me. But in the end, she was the one who lost everything. And I was the one who finally won. And that was the greatest revenge of all.